All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I'm Sunil Verma and with me is Saira Mujtaba. The headlines. Centre announces major reforms in telecom, automobile and drone sectors. Prime Minister Narendra Modi describes them as watershed moments. Prime Minister to inaugurate Defence Officers complexes in New Delhi this morning. A two-day meeting of GST Council to begin today in Lucknow. Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel to expand his cabinet this afternoon. President Ram Nath Kovind to be on a four-day visit to Himachal Pradesh beginning today. Air India receives financial bids for its disinvestment. India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage crosses 76 crore mark. Punjab put on high alert following arrest of 4 ISI-backed terrorists. UK, US and Australia announced formation of AUKUS, a new trilateral defence and security partnership for Indo-Pacific. And French forces kill head of Islamic State in Greater Sahara. As the nationwide free COVID-19 vaccination campaign at government facilities for those above 18 years is underway, we advise our young listeners to get vaccinated and also help others get vaccinated. We also advise our listeners not to lower their guard as COVID-19 remains a threat to our health. Please stay at home unless it is essential to go out and continue to follow these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask. Maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing and focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. The Centre has announced major reforms in telecom, automobile and drone sectors. The Cabinet yesterday approved a number of structural and process reforms in the telecom sector. These are expected to protect and generate employment opportunities, promote healthy competition, protect interests of consumers, infuse liquidity, encourage investment and reduce regulatory burden on telecom service providers. The reform measures will further boost the proliferation and penetration of broadband and telecom connectivity. Briefing reporters after the Cabinet meeting, Electronics and IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav said, the package is also expected to boost 4G proliferation, infuse liquidity and create an enabling environment for investment in 5G networks. He said 9 structural reforms and 5 procedural reforms plus relief measures have been taken for the telecom service providers. Mr. Vaishnav said 100% foreign direct investment FDI under automatic route has been permitted in telecom sector to encourage investment. He said the tenure of the spectrum auctions has been increased from 20 to 30 years.
स्पेक्ट्रम और टेलीकॉम सेक्टर में 100% एफडीआई पॉलिसी था, लेकिन उसमें केवल 49% ऑटोमेटिक रूट में था. कैबिनेट ने फैसला किया है 100% एफडीआई ऑटोमेटिक रूट में टेलीकॉम सेक्टर में अलाउ की गई है. ऑफ कोर्स जितने सेफगार्ड्स रहेंगे, जैसे प्रेस नोट 3, इस तरह के जितने भी सेफगार्ड्स हैं, वो सेफगार्ड्स इसमें लागू रहेंगे.
The Cabinet also approved Production-Linked Incentive PLI scheme for automobile and drone industries with a budgetary outlay of 26,058 crore rupees. Briefing reporters after the Cabinet meeting in New Delhi yesterday, Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur said the initiative will herald a new age in higher technology and more efficient and green automotive manufacturing.
The government has approved production link incentive scheme for auto industry, auto component industry, drone industry to enhance India's manufacturing capability. और इस योजना में कुल मिलाकर 26,058 करोड़ रुपए का प्रावधान किया गया है पीएलआई स्कीम, जो हमारी ऑटोमोबाइल, ऑटो कंपोनेंट इंडस्ट्री और ड्रोन इंडस्ट्री के लिए, जिसमें से ऑटो सेक्टर के लिए 25,000 करोड़ रुपए, ड्रोन सेक्टर के लिए 120 करोड़ रुपए का प्रावधान किया जाएगा. इस योजना से देश में एडवांस ऑटोमोबाइल व्हीकल्स और ऑटो कंपोनेंट और ड्रोन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग को निर्माण करने में बल मिलेगा. 5 वर्षों में लगभग 39,500 करोड़ रुपए का अतिरिक्त निवेश होगा और लगभग 7,60,000 व्यक्तियों के लिए रोजगार के अतिरिक्त अवसर मिलेंगे.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that the reforms approved by the Union Cabinet in telecom sector are a win-win for the sector and consumers. In a series of tweets, Mr. Modi said, it is a watershed moment for the telecom sector which plays a critical role in connecting and empowering the nation. He said they also ensure sectoral growth and job opportunities. The Prime Minister said PLI scheme for the auto industry and drone industry will give an impetus to manufacturing and bring the sector at par with global trends as well as best practices.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the Defence Offices complexes at Kasturba Gandhi Marg and Africa Avenue in New Delhi today. He will also visit the Defence Office complex at Africa Avenue and interact with the Army, Navy, Air Force and civilian officers. The new Defence Offices complexes will accommodate around 7,000 officials of the Defence Ministry and Armed Forces, including Army, Navy and Air Force. The buildings will provide modern, secure and functional working spaces. An integrated command and control centre has been established for managing building operations. The new Defence Office complexes are state-of-the-art and energy efficient with comprehensive security management measures. One of the defining features of these buildings is the use of new and sustainable construction technology called light gauge steel frame, which reduced construction time from 30 to 24 months. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has invited US companies to invest in India and contribute in realizing the dream of Make in India, Make for the World, envisioned by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Addressing the 18th India-US Economic Summit, organized by Indo-American Chambers of Commerce through video conferencing yesterday, Mr. Singh said, India is now home to stable and secure government, which focuses on economic growth through a series of reforms. He added that robust domestic demand and availability of talented young workforce and innovation make India a major investment destination. The minister called upon the industry leaders to focus on transfer of technology through joint ventures to realize the country's true potential in the defence sector.
The 8th edition of Indian Army Chiefs Conclave, a gathering of serving and former Chiefs of Army Staff of the Indian Army, will be organized at New Delhi from today. The highlight of the 3-day event will be the invite extended to former Chiefs of the Nepali Army, who were also honorary Chiefs of the Indian Army. The Defence Ministry said the conclave is a forum for exchange of ideas between the old guard and the current leadership of the Indian Army. It will involve discussions on the rapid transformation of the Indian Army, self-reliance through Atmanirbhar and Make in India initiatives in defence manufacturing, and skilling of the Indian soldier to fight modern wars. The former army chiefs will pay homage to the fallen brave hearts during a wreath-laying ceremony at the National War Memorial today. Indian Road Transport and Highways Minister Nitin Gadkari will today review the progress of Delhi-Mumbai Expressway covering the states of Delhi, Haryana, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Gujarat. The expressway, being developed at a cost of 98,000 crore rupees, will be the longest expressway in India. It will enhance connectivity between the national capital Delhi and the financial capital Mumbai. The new expressway is expected to halve the commute time between Delhi and Mumbai from nearly 24 hours to 12 hours and shorten the distance by 130 kilometers.
Jal Shakti Minister Gajendra Singh Shekhawat will today chair the conference of Public Health Engineering Department Ministers of 8 northeastern states on Jal Jeevan Mission. The one-day conference will be held at Assam Administrative Staff College in Guwahati. The conference is organized to discuss planning, implementation and progress made so far as well as the way forward so that all remaining households in the northeastern states get tap water connections at the earliest.
A 2-day meeting of Goods and Service Tax GST Council will begin today in Lucknow. The meeting will be the maiden physical meet of the GST Council following the outbreak of the COVID pandemic. Talking to AIR News, Union Minister of State for Finance, Pankaj Chaudhary, said the finance ministers from all states will attend the meeting. The meeting will also be attended by senior officials of the centre and state governments.
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Centre announces major reforms in telecom, automobile and drone sectors. Prime Minister Modi describes them a watershed moment. Prime Minister to inaugurate Defence Offices complexes in New Delhi this morning. A 2-day meeting of GST Council to begin today in Lucknow. Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel to expand his cabinet this afternoon. President Ramnath Kovind to be on a 4-day visit to Himachal Pradesh beginning today. Air India receives financial bids for its disinvestment. India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage crosses 76 crore mark. Punjab put on high alert following arrest of 4 ISI-backed terrorists. US, UK and Australia announced formation of AUKUS, a new trilateral defence and security partnership for Indo-Pacific. And French forces kill head of Islamic State in Greater Sahara. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel will expand his cabinet today. The swearing-in ceremony will take place at 1:30 p.m. in Gandhinagar today. More from our Ahmedabad correspondent.
Suspense over the new Council of Ministers will end today after the swearing-in ceremony of the new Council of Ministers. Swearing-in ceremony will be held at 1:30 p.m. in Raj Bhavan. Sources said that the new Council of Ministers may have many surprises. Some senior ministers of Vijay Rupani government may be dropped, while young and women members may get berth in the Bhupendra Patel government. Party is trying hard to make balance in finalizing the list of the new Council of Ministers. Yogesh Pandya, AIR News, Ahmedabad.
In Odisha, about 24 lakh people in 24 districts have been affected by the recent incessant rains triggered by the depression over the Bay of Bengal. While 6 persons have died due to the rain-related mishaps, more than 7,500 houses have also been damaged.
After battering the state for over 48 hours, the depression has moved away, but not before causing a heavy dent on the life and property of the people of the state. According to preliminary report, at least 6 persons lost their lives, 5 in bulk collapse and 1 in drowning, while 2 are still missing. The torrential rains caused massive inundation of agricultural land to the tune of about 1.3 lakh hectares, besides forcing about 5,000 villages get waterlogged. The state government has asked for detailed report on rain-induced damage from the concerned district collectors in about a week's time. Girish Chandradas, AIR News, Bhubaneswar.
President Ramnath Kovind will be on a 4-day visit to Himachal Pradesh beginning today. In view of the President's visit, security has been tightened in the state capital Shimla and its surrounding areas. Tomorrow, the President will address the special session of the Legislative Assembly, which is being organized to commemorate the Golden Jubilee of statehood celebrations. More from our correspondent.
President Ramnath Kovind is arriving on a 4-day visit to Shimla today afternoon. In view of the President's visit, massive security arrangements have been made in Shimla city and its surrounding areas. The President will address the 1-day special session tomorrow at the State Assembly to commemorate 50 years of growth and progress of Himachal Pradesh statehood. President Ramnath Kovind will be the 3rd President after APJ Abdul Kalam and Pranab Mukherjee to address the State Legislative Assembly. The event will be attended by all sitting and former members of the House, including some political stalwarts besides other dignitaries. An all-party meeting was also held yesterday to review the arrangements for the proposed visit of the President. The Speaker of the Assembly, Vipin Parmar, has said that over the 73 former MPs and MLAs have given their consent to be part of this mega event. Sanjeev Sundaryal, AIR News, Shimla.
The Finance Ministry has said that Air India received financial bids for its disinvestment process. In a tweet, Secretary, Department of Investment and Public Asset Management, Tuhin Kanta Pandey said, financial bids for Air India disinvestment have been received by the transaction advisor. He said the process now moves to the concluding stage. Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar has said that benefits of central government schemes for agriculture sector should reach the farmers. Addressing the conference of Lieutenant Governors and Administrators of all Union Territories in New Delhi yesterday, Mr. Tomar said the government has been running a campaign for saturation of Kisan Credit Card KCC to farmers since February last year to cover all leftover farmers with special focus on PM Kisan beneficiaries. Emphasizing on the KCC drive, he said the Kisan Credit Card cover has been provided to farmers even under the shadow of COVID. Mr. Tomar said that loan target of 16 lakh crore rupees has been set for the current year and around 14 lakh crore rupees have already been given to the farmers through Kisan Credit Card. Niti Aayog will launch a report on reforms in urban planning capacity in India today. The report will be released by Niti Aayog Vice Chairman Dr. Rajiv Kumar and Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan in the presence of Niti Aayog CEO Amitabh Kant. The report comprises a set of recommendations on various aspects of urban planning, such as interventions for planning healthy cities, optimum utilization of urban land, ramping up human resource capacities, strengthening urban governance, building local leadership, enhancing the role of private sector, and advancing the urban planning education system.
India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage has crossed 76 crore mark. The Union Health Ministry said more than 57 crore vaccine doses were administered as first dose, while over 18 crore were given as second doses. The ministry said more than 57 lakh vaccine doses were administered till 7 p.m. yesterday. In the national capital, 57 fresh cases of coronavirus infection were reported yesterday. The Delhi government said 53 people recovered from the infection in the same period and no deaths was reported in the city. More than 1,64,000 beneficiaries were inoculated with doses of COVID-19 vaccine in the last 24 hours in Delhi. Punjab Chief Minister Captain Amrinder Singh has ordered high alert in the state following the arrest of 4 more members of Pakistan's ISI-backed terrorist module involved in a bid to blow up an oil tanker with an improvised explosive device, IED tiffin bomb last month. This is the 4th case of a Pakistani terror module being busted in the state in the past 40 days. Taking a serious note of the increased attempts by terror groups to disturb the state's peace, the Chief Minister has directed the police to be on high alert, particularly in view of schools and educational institutions reopening, as well as the festive season and the assembly polls ahead. The Chief Minister has asked Punjab Director General of Police, DGP Dinkar Gupta, to ensure a high level of security arrangements to be put in place, especially in busy places such as markets, as well as at sensitive installations across the state. Giving details of the arrests, DGP Gupta said those arrested on Tuesday were identified as Rubal Singh, Vicky Bhatti, Malkeet Singh and Gurpreet Singh alias Gopi. The DGP said among those arrested are Pakistan-based ISYF chief Lakhbir Singh and Qasim, a resident of Pakistan, and Lakhbir Singh Road alias Baba, a native of Road village in Moga district, who is currently based in Pakistan and are behind the terror module. He said 2 Pakistan-based terrorists, including a Pakistani intelligence officer, have also been identified and nominated in the case, in which one person was arrested earlier.
In Afghanistan, a major row broke out between leaders of the Taliban just days after they set up a new government. As per media reports, supporters of 2 rival factions brawled at the presidential palace in the capital, Kabul. The argument appeared to center on who did the most to secure victory over the United States and how power was divided up in the new cabinet. The Taliban have officially denied the reports. The group seized control of Afghanistan last month and have since declared the country an Islamic emirate. The dispute came to light after Taliban co-founder Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar disappeared from view for several days. One Taliban source told BBC Pashto that Baradar and Khalilur Rahman Haqqani, the Minister for Refugees and a prominent figure within the militant Haqqani network, had exchanged strong words as their followers brawled with each other nearby. US, UK and Australia have announced the formation of AUKUS, a new trilateral defence and security partnership for the Indo-Pacific region. It was announced in a joint address by British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, his Australian counterpart Scott Morrison and US President Joe Biden, with a vision for a safer and more secure Indo-Pacific. The first project of AUKUS will be to help Australia acquire a nuclear-powered conventionally armed submarine fleet. The 3 heads of state reaffirmed their intention to continue to work with their allies and groupings in tandem with AUKUS, with the Quad being mentioned by Morrison and Biden. The Quad leaders, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison and US President Joe Biden will meet at the White House on the 25th of this month. Both Quad and now AUKUS are more than likely to be seen as counterweights to China's growing muscle flexing in the Indo-Pacific region.
French President Emmanuel Macron has said that French military forces have killed the head of Islamic State in the Greater Sahara, Adnan Abu Walid al-Sahrawi. He said it's another major success in our fight against terrorist groups in the Sahel. The French president, however, did not disclose the location of the operation. Sahrawi was the head of Islamic State in the Sahel region of Western Africa, and his group targeted US soldiers in a deadly attack in Niger in 2017.
As our nation celebrates the 75th year of independence, a series of events is being organized by the government as part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Now let's listen to our special program, Azadi Ka Safar.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव।
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
On this day in 1904, revolutionary freedom fighter Mahavir Singh Rathore was born in Etah district of Uttar Pradesh. He was first drawn to the freedom struggle when he was studying in class 6. Singh was a member of Naujawan Bharat Sabha. He was the one who helped in the escape of Bhagat Singh, Batukeshwar Dutt and Durga Devi from Mauzang House in Lahore. He was arrested as part of the second Lahore conspiracy case.
Mahavir Singh Rathore took part in the hunger strike of 1933 to protest against the treatment of prisoners. He died during the hunger strike in cellular jail of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. His father, Devi Singh, had once said, "Knowing that you are fighting for the country proves that we have not accepted slavery from our hearts. Now that you are on the path to freedom, don't look back and never betray your associates."
16th September is also the death anniversary of Tarokeshwar Sengupta. He took part in the Chittagong Armory raid. In the mid-1930s, revolutionary activity in Bengal was at its peak. From the Chittagong Armory raid to the invasion of the Writers' Building, the British Raj was feeling the heat. One of the most daredevil acts organized in the history of the Indian revolutionary movement was the Chittagong Armory raid. On 18th April 1930, a band of 63 people, most of them teenagers, led by Surjo Sen, raided the police and auxiliary forces armory in the Chittagong district and liberated it from British control, unfurling the Indian flag. Though the Chittagong revolutionaries failed in their immediate objective, it helped galvanizing youngsters.
The massive police crackdown that followed resulted in many being detained, some of them being detained at Hajjali Detention Camp near Kharagpur. The Hajjali Detention Camp was a majestic double-storied structure with a tower in the center. The entire campus was secured by double gates and a 10-feet-high wall and barbed wire fencing. Even as escape was considered impossible, 3 did manage to run away. This made the authorities tighten the security.
On September 16, 1931, a group of guards opened fire and cracked the skulls of some prisoners with their rifle butts. Freedom fighters Tarokeshwar Sengupta and Santosh Mitra were shot dead in the tumult. The inmates were shocked, and one of the detainees, Himanshu Bosu, made a pencil sketch of both the victims and sent it to the editor of Anandabazar Putrika. After the report came out, Jyotindra Mohan Sengupta and Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose went to Hajjali to take over the dead bodies. They organized a big procession at Calcutta on their way to the crematorium. Disappointed with the deaths, poet laureate Rabindranath Tagore composed the poem Proshno.
Bhagavan, tumi juge juge dut pathayecho bare bare dayaheel sansare. Tara bole gelo khama koro sabe. বলে গেল ভালোবাসো অন্তর হতে বিদ্বেষ বেশে নাশো বরণীয় তারা স্মরণীয় তারা তবুও বাহিরে তারে আজ দুর্দিনে ফেরানো তাদের ব্যর্থ নমস্কার.
Do you know the country's first IIT, that is IIT Kharagpur, is built on this detention camp? In 1950, one of the top engineering colleges of India started functioning from 5 Esplanade East in Kolkata. But later it was decided that they needed a bigger and peaceful location. So they chose a complex at Hajjali that was about 150 kilometers far from Kolkata.
On September 16, 1932, in his cell at Yerwada Jail in Pune, Mahatma Gandhi began a hunger strike in protest of the British government's decision to separate India's electoral system by caste. He was in jail after being arrested for the civil disobedience movement he launched after his return from England, where he attended the Round Table Conference. In September 1932, Gandhi announced he was beginning a fast unto death in order to protest the British move to have separate electorate for the downtrodden. Gandhi believed this would permanently and unfairly divide India's society.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
As part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, AIR News is airing stories of courage, valor and determination of unsung heroes of the Indian freedom movement in our series Veer Gatha at 4:45 p.m. in Parikrama program. In today's episode of Veer Gatha, we will bring you the inspirational story of one of the most prominent women revolutionaries, Durgavati Devi, popularly known as Durga Bhavi, who helping Bhagat Singh in armed revolution against the British government.
And now let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. The national capital Delhi will have a generally cloudy sky with light to moderate rain. The city recorded 25 degrees Celsius as the minimum temperature, while the maximum will be around 32. Mumbai will have a generally cloudy sky with light rain. In Jammu, the maximum temperature will be around 34 degrees, while it recorded 23 degrees Celsius as minimum. Srinagar, Leh, Gilgit and Muzaffarabad are likely to witness a mainly clear sky. Most of the northeastern cities, including Guwahati, Imphal, Shillong, as well Kohima, Itanagar and Gangtok, may have a generally cloudy sky with one or two spells of rain or thunder showers.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. Government response to Telco SOS headlines Business Standard. 4-year loan moratorium, 100% FDI, writes the Tribune. Auto sector gets 26,058 crore rupees production-linked incentive to push new technology, clean fuels, reports the Hindu Business Line. WHO reports a big drop in COVID cases across the world, reports the Asian Age. NCRB data reveal that cybercrime shot up during COVID pandemic, reports Hindustan Times. Crime against women was down, but there was record rise in cases overall due to COVID, writes the Times of India. India assails failed state Pakistan. Organization of Islamic Cooperation for Kashmir rant at UNHRC, headlines The Pioneer. And finally, ban on firecrackers in Delhi remains in place this Diwali, says Kejriwal, reports Hindustan Times.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Centre announces major reforms in telecom, automobile and drone sectors. Prime Minister Narendra Modi describes them as watershed moment. Prime Minister to inaugurate Defence Offices complexes in New Delhi this morning. A 2-day meeting of GST Council to begin today in Lucknow. Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel to expand his cabinet this afternoon. President Ramnath Kovind to be on a 4-day visit to Himachal Pradesh beginning today. Air India receives financial bids for its disinvestment. India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage crosses 76 crore mark. Punjab put on high alert following arrest of 4 ISI-backed terrorists. US, UK and Australia announced formation of AUKUS, a new trilateral defence and security partnership for Indo-Pacific. And French forces kill head of Islamic State in Greater Sahara. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.gov.in and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.